everybody, and welcome to another episode of SportsLine. I'm Cody Barr, and alongside of me is Bethany Lowe.
We have a great show planned full of your LaSalle sports news, previews, and highlights.
So let's get started with some game recaps. Bethany?
Well, since the semester and fall season are coming to an end, we're going to get started this show by wrapping up how the fall sports ended their seasons. The women's soccer team had another successful A-10 tournament win and made it to the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, the Explorers championship season came to an end Friday afternoon in the first round of the tournament against the Georgetown Hoyas. Despite Jessica Wiggins' 5-save afternoon, the Explorers struggled to find the net. The Hoyas connected in the first half and once again in the second half, propelling them to a 2-0 advantage. Despite the loss, the class of 2014 became the most winning class in program history. Since 2010, the Lady Explorers have appeared in the NCAA tournament 3 times along with 2 A-10 titles. That's definitely something to be proud of.
The men's soccer team went straight into A-10 tournament playoffs with a grudge match against the Dayton Flyers, who they lost to in double overtime earlier in November. Starting early, senior Jason Plumoff made the most of an error from a mishandled pass directed to Dayton goalie in the 14th minute to give LaSalle the early lead. But the Explorers couldn't hold on to their lead very long as Dayton managed to get one past John McCarthy in the 33rd minute. In the second half, McCarthy stabilized and held out against Dayton's 19 shots on net. After 110 minutes of play, the game went into penalty kick shootout. After the Explorers capitalized on their own kicks, McCarthy remained strong and prevented a second loss to Dayton to advance to the next round.
The next round was against the top-seeded St. Louis Billikens, and the men were also unable to pull out the win, losing 2-1. The Billikens scored in the first half and followed up in the second at the 53rd minute. Attempting a comeback, junior Pat Sullivan scored off an assist from Jason Plumoff, but this marked the last goal of the season for the Explorers and capitalized in the remaining time on the field. McCarthy made 6 saves in goal for his last start in net, which brought him to 468 on his career. This shattered the 10-year record and now makes him LaSalle's all-time leader in net.
The women's volleyball team ended their season over the weekend with their final 2 games. Friday, November 15th, the Explorers took the University Rams in a rematch from almost 3 weeks prior. The blue and gold came out strong and won the first set and played a close set 2, extending it to extra points. But the Rams took advantage of the extra points and won the set. The Rams picked up the next 2 sets, taking the game win 3-1. Jennifer Whelan notching 3 kills and 5 block assists, Kelly Perillo posting her third double-double of the season with 11 kills and 12 digs, and Laura Kohlmeyer added 8 kills, 10 digs, and a career-high 4 service aces for the Explorers.
Just 2 days later, the Explorers and the Duquesne Dukes squared off at the Tom Gola Arena. This was senior day for the Explorers, where lone senior and captain Rachel Finkbeiner was honored before the match for her service to the team, amassing over 280 career kills in a span of 108 matches. Winning in honor of the final match of the season, and Rachel proved too difficult with Duquesne as their opponent as they lost in straight sets. Finkbeiner concluded her LaSalle career with 3 kills and 2 block assists in the match. The young team struggled this year, posting a 1-31 record. Coming into next year with only 1 player leaving will hopefully lead to a better season for the Explorers. With one season as a team under their belt, the blue and gold could come back with the chemistry and practice they need to improve their record.
It was an illustrious weekend for LaSalle cross country as both men and women's teams competed in the Mid-Atlantic Regional on November 15th. The men placed 6th out of 26, with Nico Greco placing 21st out of the 179 runners. The women finished 12th out of the 29 on Friday, with Michelle Capozzi leading the Explorers by crossing the finish in 17th place out of 203 runners. Greco and Capozzi's performances paid off as they were given all regional honors by the USTFCCCA. Greco also was named to the A-10 All-Academic Conference team, along with fellow Explorers Zach Sullivan and Vince Perozzi. The men's team finishes their season Sunday, the 23rd, at the IC4A Championship in Bronx, New York, while the women race the same day at the ECAC Championships at the same location.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll have Madison Elliott, who sat down with women's cross-country standout Michelle Capozzi.
Are you a male living in the United States or U.S. citizen overseas between the ages of 18 and 26? If you are required to register with the Selective Service System. Yes, you. Guys living in the United States and U.S. citizens abroad are required to register within 30 days before or 30 days after their 18th birthday. It's the law, and there are severe penalties if you don't register. However, registering with Selective Service ensures that you will remain eligible for student loans, government jobs, job training, and in many states, even your driver's license. More important than anything else, registering with Selective Service is a crucial part of becoming an adult and acknowledging your duties as an American citizen. It's simple and easy. You can register online at sss.gov or your local post office.
Here with senior cross-country runner Michelle Capozzi, who just recently ran at regionals and qualified for the national race in Indiana this coming Saturday. So Michelle, thank you for being here today. We're glad to have you. So what are you feeling after the regional race on Friday at Lehigh University?
I feel extremely happy and accomplished. I feel this was the first race this season where I was actually able to put a complete race together. The races I had run in the past, I was never able to finish as strong as I wanted, or my start was never able to start the race how I wanted. So this race, I feel like I was just able to bring everything together. So I'm really happy.
Well, that's good. I mean, I know a lot to do with running is your mindset, and I've heard that your mindset is very important because sometimes running is more mental than even physical. So what was your mindset that day of the race?
Honestly, before the race, I had no expectations of qualifying for nationals. My goal was to be all region, which is top 25.
Yes.
So I just went out there and I focused on the process of racing and not so much the outcome. I feel like in the past I've made that mistake where I put too much emphasis on the end result. Whereas this race, I was just focused on being in the moment during the race, and that's why I think I did so well.
Well, that's great. That's good. So your strategy when you run, some people like to go right out there and lead the pack, and some people start out slow and then work the way up. So what's your strategy when you run?
I'd say it depends on the race and who's in it, but just as a general statement, I usually like to position myself towards the front right from the beginning. And it's different for every runner. You know, everyone has different styles. But over the years, I've kind of developed that, and I like that as my strategy.
So do you think you'll be doing that at nationals?
Probably not, because nationals, the pool is so different.
Yeah,
I'm going to be with all these people that are better than me. So I'm probably going to have to change change the way that I typically like to race around a little bit.
So what do you expect from yourself at nationals? What do you hope to do?
I would like to be in the top 100. There's going to be about 250 runners in the race.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, after talking to my coaches, I think that would be a suitable goal for me.
And what have you been doing to train for this race?
Just the runs and the workouts that I normally have done. However, this week has been a significant cutback in mileage because I'm at my peak point right now.
So you want to maintain that?
I want to maintain
point.
this.
Yes, understandable. So after nationals, what's next?
Getting ready for indoor and outdoor track. I don't have a 5th year of eligibility left because I've raced all my seasons. So this is basically my last opportunity to run in college this coming indoor and outdoor season. So.
Well, it's great that you got to nationals for your last year of eligibility. That's so exciting.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, you must be. So I want to get to your personal side of running. You know, how did your running career begin?
Ever since I was younger, I always just loved to run. Even when I did other sports, I'd done gymnastics, basketball, tennis.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I always just loved to run.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just started ever since I was younger.
And who do you think has influenced you the most?
I would probably say my dad.
Your dad.
When I was little, I started just going on like casual distance runs with my dad. So that's how it all started.
Well, that sounds awesome. That's so sweet. So your dad is your biggest influence. So what made you realize that you wanted to be a college athlete?
I would definitely say once I started running in high school, I was really close with my coach at the time, and he started talking to me about, you know, the whole college process and the NCAA, and so he was the one who kind of really like gave me the opportunity to have a running career in college based on the training that he gave me in high school.
So what made you want to be a college athlete here at LaSalle?
Well, during I believe it was my junior and senior year of high school, I was being recruited by Coach Torpy. He was the coach here at the time.
Yes.
And I knew he was very good, and so I came to LaSalle to run for him.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So what do you think your favorite aspect about LaSalle is?
I would definitely say the persona of the students that go here.
Yeah, it's a nice small like community, and I like that too about it. It's awesome. So Rohan usually asks everybody this one question: what is your favorite Disney movie? And I know he'd be disappointed if I didn't ask you.
Definitely Lion King.
Lion King, one of the best movies. I saw that on Broadway too.
Great movie.
Amazing, it definitely was. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's all for this week's interview segment. Thanks for tuning in. Back to you guys.
Chooses to get breast cancer. The only choice we have is how we will deal with it.
We were lucky. Before we were ever treated for breast cancer, we planned for life after breast cancer. We made the choice.
That breast cancer would not take something away from us.
Unfortunately, not every woman knows her choices. And for the sake of all women across America, that has to change. And you can help make it happen. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons is supporting a bill that will help make sure women who are facing breast cancer surgery are told about all their options. It's called the Breast Cancer Patient Education Act.
Every woman has a right to plan for life after breast cancer.
But too many breast cancer patients are being left in the dark.
Help us bring this important issue to light. Call your member of Congress and ask them to support the Breast Cancer Patient Education Act.
Welcome back. On November 16th, the LaSalle men's swim and dive team faced off against George Mason. LaSalle lost by a score of 181 to 118. Freshman Mateus Glesnick had his first two place finishes in the 500-yard freestyle and the 1,000-yard freestyle. Junior Stephen Sharp took home second in the 200-yard freestyle. He also finished third in the 500-yard freestyle. Senior Dave Durr got a first-place finish in the 100-yard backstroke. Sophomore Johan Roth dominated by winning both the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke. LaSalle sophomore CJ Gimple had the best finish in the 1-meter dive, while senior Robert Freeling had the top score in the 3-meter dive.
That same day, the women's team also raced against the Patriots, losing 188 to 111. Junior Colleen Larkin placed first in the 1,000-yard freestyle and placed second in the 500-yard freestyle. Sophomore Kelsey Jenkinson had the top time in the 100-yard breaststroke. LaSalle senior Katie Snee had a pair of second-place finishes in the 50-yard freestyle and 100-yard freestyle. Senior Shauna Hannings had the top score in the 3-meter dive. Freshman explorer Julia Mann managed to take second place in the 200-yard butterfly. Both teams will continue their schedule on the 22nd with the Bucknell Invitational in Lewisburg, PA.
The women's basketball team traveled to face the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers on November 17th. LaSalle struggled throughout the game on the offensive end, but were able to stay in the game with their defense, forcing a total of 24 turnovers. Freshman Michaela Owens excelled offensively, scoring 21 points, including 13 in the second half. Graduate transfer Lisa Burgess was a factor on the boards, grabbing 11 rebounds with 6 on offense. Fouls affected both teams on the court with a combined 45 calls made, 24 of which were called on LaSalle. The Explorers remain on the road their next 2 games.
The men's basketball team took on Siena in this year's homecoming game in front of a sold-out arena. Take a look.
The university's tennis courts were flooded with Explorer fans on Saturday to celebrate Homecoming 2013. Because the football team was dismantled in 2007, the homecoming events are centered around the basketball team, who thanked hordes of fans by defeating Siena 78-74. To liven the mood and get fans ready for the matchup, the university hosted a huge party in 3 tents filled with good food, good drinks, good music, and old friends. As game time approached, the party moved from the tennis courts to the basketball court. With 11 lead changes in the first half, the fans' attention was definitely held. Leaders in the first half included Tyrone Garland, who led with 9 points, and Steve Zack and Jarrell Wright, who both grabbed 4 rebounds apiece. Missing from the first half highlights was senior Tyreek Dern, who posted only 1 point in 13 minutes of play.
Well, I couldn't throw a rock in the ocean.
Because of Dern's scarce contribution, LaSalle trailed 38-42 into halftime. Siena held the advantage up until the last 6 minutes of play, when Tyreek Dern found a shot and drained 2 consecutive shots from beyond the arc. 5 rebounds and 9 shots later, including a dunk by Jarrell Wright, secured the 78-74 victory for the Explorers, whose record improved to 2-1. Leading LaSalle in rebounds was forward Jarrell Wright, who posted 11 on the game. Wright also contributed offensively with 15 points. With his late surge, Tyreek Dern scored 19 points in the second half, boosting his game total to 20.
I like to use the word will. You have to will yourself to win. And I whispered in Tyreek and Sam's ear down the stretch with about 5-6 minutes left. I said, you guys got to will us to this win. And he did. He was amazing. He was absolutely amazing.
Aside from the exciting homecoming victory, fans were treated to witnessing transfer Khalid Lewis's first court appearance. Lewis, who had been nursing a hand injury, was expected to make his debut as an Explorer at the Penn State game, but instead took the court at Goal Arena and started his LaSalle career with 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 steal.
I thought he did a great job, and he's going to be a big part of our team. He's a terrific defender. Yeah, and you know, whether you're a freshman or coming off an injury, it's really hard to come in cold and play. It's really, really hard. It'll take him a while to be his normal self, but I think he's a really good player.
That's definitely the kind of homecoming game I'd hope for. Sometimes schools play teams that they can just completely blow out to guarantee a win, but I don't think that could even compare to this win over Siena. The stress of the first half and the exciting comeback definitely kept the many fans involved in the game. Dern played a big role in the win once he started hitting his shots with his 20 points, and he actually explained that he kept missing his shots in the first half, but then he kept telling himself that he kept trying, they would eventually fall. And he was definitely right. 12 points during their comeback stretch was just what the Explorers needed to kick it up a notch to win the game.
It's too bad the Explorers couldn't do the same in the game against Penn State. Fans watching the game on ESPN3 hoped for a similar comeback, but were unfortunately left disappointed. Sports Talk Philadelphia host Andrew Albert was at the game, so he brought us back some coverage. Take a look.
A 3-hour trip down the Pennsylvania Turnpike here to the Bryce Jordan Center to look for their 3rd win in a row against Penn State.
LaSalle knew they would have their hands full with the Nittany Lions, who they beat last year at the Palestra. State College native Taylor Dunn got the start for the Explorers, dumping in 2 3-pointers for 6 points. LaSalle kept it close in the first half, leading at halftime by 2. That was not the case in the second half when Penn State used a huge run to pull ahead of the Explorers. Donovan Jack had 18 points, a career high for Penn State.
I mean, best thing, always be ready. I know they're bigs. I played with Steve Zack and Elliott. I kind of knew we were going into this game, but I mean, I was just feeding off the game, playing off instincts.
Despite taking the win from the Explorers, Penn State head coach Pat Chambers had nothing but good things to say about the Explorers.
Look, I thought LaSalle did a really good job building the wall, doing some good things against us. Dr. G, great coach. He is a great coach.
Now let's move on to exploring headlines. Basketball senior Tyreek Dern has been named the Philadelphia Big Five Player of the Week. Dern has averaged 18.5 points per game and 3 assists per game in 2 Explorer victories. In the ESPN Tip-Off Marathon contest versus Quinnipiac, Dern scored 17 points and went 7 for 8 from the foul line.
LaSalle is providing bus transportation for 2 men's basketball road trips this year. The first bus is headed to Madison Square Garden on Saturday, December 7th, as LaSalle takes on Stony Brook in the 2013 MSG Holiday Festival at 11 a.m. The second bus is headed for New York on Saturday, March 1st, as LaSalle faces Fordham at 5 p.m. To register for either bus trip, visit the Heyman Center ticket office or goexplorers.com.
Johnny Schuler, a Washington, D.C. native, has signed a national letter of intent to play men's basketball at LaSalle. Schuler, who is 6 feet tall and weighs 160 pounds, averaged 11.6 points per game in leading Roosevelt High School to a 26-4 record and a spot in the DCIAA championship game last season. He was named to second-team All-Met as a junior and spent his sophomore year at DeMatha Catholic High School. We are definitely happy to welcome Johnny and wish him the best of luck with the team.
LaSalle men's cross-country standouts Nico Greco, Zach Sullivan, and Vince Prosy have been named to the Atlantic 10 Academic All-Conference team, making LaSalle the only school with 3 recipients on the list. Greco carries a 3.6 GPA as a digital arts major. Sullivan posted a 3.49 GPA also as a digital arts major. And then Perozzi finds his name on the list for the second straight year as he carries a 3.72 GPA as an accounting major.
To finish up our headlines for the week, the baseball schedule has been announced for the spring season. The home opener will be on February 25th against Lafayette, and some highlights of the season include a tournament in North Carolina hosted by Duke, trips to California, South Carolina, and Tennessee for spring break. And last season, the team had its program high 15 A-10 wins, and the Explorers have made the conference tournament 3 of the past 4 years. So I definitely look forward to covering the 2014 season for the Explorers.
We're going to take another quick break, but when we get back, Jacob Smolinski will tell you which game to watch during the upcoming week in Marquee matchup.
For others, it may have just been a summer job. But for me, it was training. Now I'm an Air Force pararescueman, and my job is to save lives. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Marquee Matchup. I'm Jacob Smolinski. In an exotic change of pace, the Explorers head to the Virgin Islands on Friday, November 22nd for the U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam. This bracketed tournament takes place over 4 days with serious competition on St. Thomas Island, and LaSalle is looking to make a name for itself in this early season tournament. Among the teams present in the islands, it looks like powerhouse and undefeated teams Vanderbilt, Loyola Marymount, and Providence will be serious contenders in the competition. As the Explorers come into this tournament, they are riding a wave of 2 consecutive wins against Quinnipiac in the ESPN Tip-Off Marathon in our homecoming game against Siena. The Explorers have been showing off a pretty solid lineup with only 1 loss in the season opener that came in a heartbreaking double overtime loss against Manhattan. So, right now, the team stats put LaSalle in a promising spot for the tournament. Leading the Atlantic 10 Conference in first place, we have also cracked the top 100 overall points per game standings in the NCAA with an average of 80.3 points per game. This puts us in the top half of the competition leading into this tournament on the islands. The Explorers have also begun to bring up their rebounding game that suffered in the opening loss to Manhattan with an average of 38.3 per game. On top of that, they're also averaging a healthy 16 assists per game, and that breaks the top 60 in the NCAA. However, LaSalle's field goal percentage is struggling with a mediocre .392. This is definitely stemming from the graduation of Ramon Galloway, a consistent outside shooter who tied together the offensive front of Garland and Duren last season. With an impressive career field goal percentage of .411, someone on the Explorers needs to step up and fill his shoes. And with Garland and Duren putting up most of the points this season, someone young needs to help ease the pressure off these 2 seniors and bring up the outside game. So now, let's take a look at some players to watch in this upcoming tournament. Junior Jarrell Wright is the leading forward on LaSalle's roster right now. Playing big up top, the 6'8" threat has been leading LaSalle's improving rebound attack with an average of 9 per game. He's also 3rd on the roster in points per game with an average of 14 and 42 points on the season. Needless to say, he's a consistent player that LaSalle needs to control the rebound game that ended up leading to their loss against Manhattan. As well as getting those rebounds, he is also putting up points under the net. On the other hand, sophomore guard Khalid Lewis is looking to prove himself in this tournament. With only 8 minutes of actual playing time so far this year, he put up 5 points in his brief time on the court. But as one of the youngest players on the team, he is definitely going to have to start to make a name for himself in the shadow of the other 2 guards on the team, Duren and Garland. With 4 games in this tournament, he is bound to have some time on the court, and he is definitely going to be out to prove himself in the midst of some serious competition. Now let's take a look at the keys to the game. If LaSalle is going to make it to the top of this tournament, they definitely need to amp up their defense. With only junior centers Steve Zach and forward Jarrell Wright above 5 rebounds per game, the team needs to step it up. It's simple. If LaSalle can minimize the amount of chances the powerhouse schools can get on their side of the court, they'll have a chance to pull out a win. With only an average .3 differential in points allowed per game, making sure we get those rebounds is quintessential for the Explorers' success. Next, the Explorers need to settle down and improve their field goal percentage. They've been missing out on too many points, and their average speaks for itself. With .392, LaSalle is 303rd in the NCAA. That's simply not acceptable in a school leading the A-10 division. If we want to make it in this tournament, we need to clean up our shooting and be on for these big matchups. Regardless, The blue and gold have been showing a serious amount of maturity in the final minutes of each of the last games by taking control and securing the win. They just have to focus their energy and not let all the hype get to them. Although it's been a bit of a tense start to the season, LaSalle men's basketball is sure to settle into a groove and make waves at this year's U.S. Virgin Islands Paradise Jam. We wish them good luck in the tropics, and go Explorers. Thanks for watching Marquee Matchup. I'm Jacob Smolinski.
At what age is the color that your skin was meant to be no longer beautiful? Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they'd die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults 15 to 29. And one person dies from melanoma every hour. It's time. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Thanks, Jake. Be sure to keep up with this weekend's sporting events by following us on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We'll post game updates as well as sneak peeks into the upcoming shows.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions about the show on either website.
For Bethany and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Cody Barr, and we'll see you at the game.